Good evening. After a two-day manhunt, 2 sleepless nights, law enforcement have apprehended Vance Bolter. That's 48 hours that law enforcement involved in a complex and dangerous man.
Tim Walz. I don't know who thought he was a good idea. He was like the second iteration of Tim Kaine, but even worse. He turned out to be a...
Picture this. Tim Walz thought he was playing a smart chess game. But Lindi Li slammed the board, grabbed the queen, and started juggling the other pieces while sipping her tea. This isn't just politics anymore. It's a roast, a meltdown, and a crazy twist that even Netflix couldn't imagine. Tim Walz thought his secrets were locked up tight, but Lindi Li showed up with the keys, a flashlight, and a bucket of popcorn. Get ready, because things are about to get wild.
These are women's decisions to make about their healthcare decisions, and the physicians who know best when they need to do this. I use this line on this, just mind your own business on this. Things worked best when Roe versus Wade was in place. When we do a restoration of Roe, that works best. That doesn't preclude us.
He was trafficking in lies and conspiracies. He said that he never supported a national abortion ban. We have in writing screenshot from his website wherein he supported a national abortion ban. So he was just lying with him.
If you're enjoying this, hit that subscribe button. It helps more than you think. Tim Walz was feeling great going into 2025. He believed his nice guy image from the Midwest made him untouchable. He was like comfort food, simple, safe, and familiar. But then came Lindi Li. She didn't knock politely on his perfect image. She ran right through it with sarcasm sharp enough to cut cheese. Suddenly, the governor's clean image looked less like a warm casserole and more like leftovers forgotten in the fridge, soft, suspicious, and smelling worse by the minute.
Who could possibly think it would be a good idea to lie about being in Tiananmen Square when you were in Nebraska? I mean, come on, it's just so beyond the pale. And now he's thinking about running for president. Didn't he get the memo that the American people do not want a second coming of Kamala Harris and Tim Walz? And Kamala is in California considering a run for governor. We do not want any more DEI woke, any of that. We just don't. We're done with the woke and trans insanity.
Tim Walz has been living inside one big act. He plays the calm, steady leader who always says everything's fine, even when everything's on fire behind him. He's that guy who pats your shoulder and says, "I've got this," while your Wi-Fi crashes, your fridge dies, and a raccoon sets your garage on fire. Smooth on the outside, chaos underneath. That fake calm is what Lindi Li just destroyed. And now everyone can't stop watching the mess unfold.
Out of bounds.
How soon was it after the election? Like
a week or two. When it wasn't at that point. I was just asking questions. Like it wasn't even. I was like, what happened to the $2.5 billion we raised? Why did we spend it on Beyonce? Why did we spend 2.5? Why did we spend millions of dollars on Oprah? Like legitimate questions that needed to be answered. But the amount of hate I got for that was just overwhelming. And the final straw, the moment that I knew that I needed to leave, was actually around.
To really understand the roast, you need to see how Walz built his image. It's like he made himself out of IKEA parts, plain, practical, and just strong enough to hold a few family photos. But if you look too close, the whole thing starts shaking. He's the teacher turned politician, the nice neighbor you'd trust to water your plants, the dad joke guy who also runs the National Guard. Sounds perfect on paper, right? But in real life, it falls apart fast. The screws don't match, and the wood is cheap. And this time, the person who noticed was Lindi Li.
And then the biggest tell of the evening was when he told the moderators, well, I thought the rules stipulated, or something to the effect of the rules were saying that you weren't going to fact check. And you talked about own goals. That was an own goal. That said everything.
But
he
Lindsay,
was counting on the fact that no one was going to push back.
are you frustrated then that Walz didn't make the argument that you're making to me right now?
I think he did a really good job tonight. And we had a live focus group.
Lindi looked straight at Walz's record and said, "Nice mask. What's under it?" Then the truth came flying out. While Walz bragged about being calm and in control, his leadership was all over the place. He couldn't decide whether to shut things down, open them, or shrug and hope it worked. His plans looked more like flipping a coin than real leadership. And his crime policies? A total mess. He tried to look tough and fair at the same time, and ended up trapped in his own contradictions. Lindi didn't stop there. She added sarcasm like hot sauce, showing that while Walz talked about doing the right thing, he was cozy with insiders in Washington. He pretended to be for the people, but you'd need a telescope to find those roots.
Highest rating of the night when he pointed out that Trump completely failed on the border. He didn't deliver on the border wall that he promised. He blew up the border deal that we have border as a campaign issue. So he scored really highly also when he mentioned Matthew 25 and how his faith guides and inspires his empathy for people, a quality that Trump and Vance so abundantly lack.
Lindi didn't just poke holes in Walz's story. She shredded it into Swiss cheese. She reminded everyone that shiny metals don't hide bad decisions. What makes it sting worse is that Walz's everyday teacher act now feels fake, like a costume. It's like finding out your favorite indie band was made by a company to sell to suburban moms. That's Walz, the Target brand candidate. And now that he's Harris's VP pick, the light on him is brighter than ever. Everything that used to stay hidden in Minnesota is now national news. Lindi is waving a neon sign that says, "Look at this." Walz wanted to charm people with his cardigan smile, but that plan's over. Lindi didn't just share facts. She made them burn. And when something burns in politics, people don't forget.
It doesn't increase us from making sure that once that child's born, like in Minnesota, they get meals, they get early childhood education, they get health care. So the hiding behind we're going to do all these other things when you're not proposing them in your budget. Kamala Harris is proposing them. She's proposing all those things to make life.
Now Walz is in a tough spot. If he ignores Lindi, it's like ignoring a fire alarm. Everyone still hears it. But if he tries to fight back, it's even worse. Because stepping into Lindi's world means walking straight into a tornado of jokes while already bleeding. But this isn't just about Walz anymore. It's about the whole system of fake images and PR smiles. Lindi is the one saying, the emperor's new clothes don't fit. And she's right. Her viral roast opened the floodgates. Now everyone, journalists, rivals, and online detectives, is digging through Walz's past like it's a mystery novel. Once someone says there's a crack, everyone wants to see how deep it goes. Now he's trying to act like the calm co-pilot for Harris's campaign, but the internet jokes that he's just shaking a martini during an earthquake.
Feedback. I want to take you back to the very first answer that he gave. Let's just remind ourselves, he sort of stumbled through. Right now the crisis in the Middle East is, front and center of the global news agenda, and we would expect maybe that someone who was running to be the vice president would have more confidence. Let's remind ourselves of what happened.
October 7th, Hamas terrorists massacred over 1,400 Israelis and took prisoners. Israel's ability to be able to defend itself is absolutely fundamental. Getting its hostages back, fundamental, and ending the humanitarian crisis in Gaza.
Walz's team doesn't know what to do. Should they double down on his cozy image or pretend nothing's wrong? Either way, it's bad. When Lindi roasts you, it's not a debate, it's a full barbecue. And the smoke stays forever. First, his team said it's out of context, because that's what everyone says now. But once people see the pattern, no explanation can fix it. The media split fast. Some treated him like the nice uncle from the Midwest who brings food to the potluck, calling Lindi's roast just spicy. But others smelled blood. And nothing sells like political drama. Suddenly, every small mistake Walz made is now front-page news, turned into dramatic stories with music fit for a true crime show.
What do you think happened when he gave that answer, Lindi?
Well, as I mentioned before, J.D. Vance went to Yale Law School. He is seasoned, and I said this in the previous interview. This is what he does. He's slick and he's sharp, but Walz is a fundamentally good guy. And our focus group of battleground voters, mind you, understand that. They perceive that this is a down-to-earth guy, salt-to-the-earth guy who wants the best for the American people versus Vance, who is backed by Peter Thiel and was a venture capitalist and is working for his billionaire clone.
Walz isn't used to this kind of pressure. He's been living easy in state politics, where people forgive small mess-ups if you just smile. But the national stage is brutal. Every photo, every word, every joke gets checked. You can't survive with only calm talk and fishing stories anymore. Under the spotlight, Lindi made sure everyone saw clearly. To most people, the irony is obvious. The man who called himself for the people now looks like the man of the script. His personality feels fake, like he's acting for TV. And the timing couldn't be worse. In this heated election, voters don't want promises to grow into the job. They want someone real right now.
I mean, I'm not on anyone's payroll. I'm not beholden to anyone. That's why I'm here telling the truth. I'm not here to gaslight anybody. This is just the truth. The truth is this is just an epic disaster. This is a $1 billion disaster. Actually, it was $1.018 billion, I think, right? There were $20 million or $18 million in debt. Right. It's incredible.
And Lindi just proved how weak Walz's realness is. It's about as strong as a paper straw in a hurricane. Social media turned her roast into a meme factory overnight. Clips labeled Walz's hypocrisy speedrun spread everywhere. When your brand is Midwestern nice, but your actions scream Midwestern mess, the internet doesn't just notice, it multiplies it. Once you become the punchline, you can't take the joke back. But this isn't just about being funny, it's about trust. Walz's whole career depends on people believing he's genuine. And Lindi ripped that belief apart. She showed that his authenticity was just a costume. Once voters see the zipper on the bear suit, they'll never think it's real again.
Into that, I have friends that I have to be accountable to and to explain what happened because I told them it was a margin of error race. I was promised, Jen O'Malley Dillon promised all of us that Harris would win. She even put videos out saying that Harris would win. I believed her. My donors believed her. And so they wrote massive checks. I feel like a lot of us were misled. And even on the night of election night, I looked somebody in the eye and I said, are we going to do this? Are we going to pull it off? She told me yes. And I asked somebody else, like, how are you feeling? He's like, we're going to win Iowa. And I was like...
That's what makes Lindi's roast so powerful. These days, nobody shares boring reports. They share funny clips, sarcastic burns, and moments that make them laugh while agreeing. That's how stories spread. Truth wrapped in entertainment. Walz's enemies are quietly celebrating with popcorn. Because the worst hit in politics isn't from your rivals. It's when someone outside the system calls you out. That's when it feels real, and that's when it sticks. The Harris campaign is now sweating bullets. A VP pick should bring calm, not chaos. Walz was supposed to be the reliable partner, the safe choice. But now he looks nervous, fake, and over-rehearsed. That's political poison in a brutal race like this.
What's your take?
My take is the most neglected part of home ownership is the gutters. It's personal for me.
This is Democratic vice presidential candidate Tim Walz making an appearance on the popular TikTok show Subway Tapes.
Had problems with gutters before. You get your basement wet, you get ice dams, cause a lot of problems.
How often do you like looking at gutters?
I look quite often, surprisingly, because
Like
I kind of judge it. I try not to be judgmental on people, but when I see a well-tended gutter, it says a lot about it.
Now Walz is front page news, not for his big ideas, but for his contradictions. It's like being remembered, not for your movie role, but for tripping on the red carpet. Unforgettable, but for all the wrong reasons. The more he tries to act like it doesn't bother him, the worse it gets. If he shrugs, it looks like guilt. If he smiles, it looks fake. And if he talks about it, the story lives longer. He can't win. He built his brand on being steady and real. But Lindi peeled off that mask and showed how fake it was. It's like buying something labeled organic and finding out it's just cheap factory food. Once people know, they can't unsee it. The craziest part? His downfall isn't from a crime or scandal, it's from exposure. His image is falling apart piece by piece, one sarcastic comment at a time, until it finally collapses completely.